All right, welcome to Building Brevard, Episode 3. And of course, we're always talking about building through real estate and home building, but also building through the community and building through just the next generation. But today, as we were going through the list, I was like, well, of all the home builders that I know, why don't we talk to the CEO of the Home Builders Contract Association? And thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So, tell us a little bit about HBCA, right? Like for the person who might not know what HBCA even is in Brevard County.
Sure. Well, the Coast HBCA has been around since about 1958, and it is an organization that benefits both the community and the home building industry.
Okay.
So we're a resource for the home building industry as far as providing government advocacy, educational opportunities, business development opportunities, and we work with home builders, commercial general contractors, all the trades and all the ancillary businesses that go along with it, like bankers, mortgage companies, lawyers. So we run the gamut. Anybody that touches the building or building industry, we can help.
Yeah, I think that's a kind of a common misconception. Everybody thinks of you as the home builders, and yet it's contractors as well. Like at first I was like, HB, what's the C stand for, right? Like at first, years ago, but.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've made it a point over the last few years to really, make that a point to assist the general contracting community. Our membership's grown with them, and it's a benefit to the community because we are a one-stop shop for the community if they're looking for a builder, looking for a trade, looking for a contractor, they can reach out to us through our website. We have a great, almost like a Google-ish website. They can find what they're looking for quickly and easily. So we're hopefully providing a resource to both the community and to the building industry.
Fantastic. What percentage would you guess, and just vague, like contractor versus home builder makes up the association?
Probably.
Or maybe there's maybe that ancillary too. There's maybe
it's
three.
Probably right now it's probably 65, 35, 65 for the home building builders, because we make up not only the production home builders but also the smaller custom home builders and remodelers. Right. So there's quite a few of those. General contractors are obviously larger, focused on bigger projects. So there's not as many of those in the community either. So we probably have a mixture slanted a little more towards the home builders.
Okay, fantastic. How long have you been with HBCA?
3.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was life before that?
I was associate vice president at Florida Tech,
Mm-hmm.
and helped begin the football program there, as well as a few other things I had my hands in. So it was a great opportunity to be there for 12 years. Prior to that, I was dean and head football coach at Holy Trinity Academy and started the football program there. And prior to that, I was in law enforcement for just under 15 years. So.
Wow.
So kind of a mutt.
Yeah, a mixture of everything,
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
my staff always makes fun of me. They say I've had more jobs than years on the planet, but that's just I like to be busy, right? Let's start with the events. What are the events? Because that's really, I think, where the general public has come to know HBCA, right? For the Parade of Homes and some of those, but outside, well, I'll let you just run with the events.
Sure. So we do different events, and the events are either focused to provide a benefit to the builders or the building community, to the general public. That's our Parade of Homes. We have a new spring home showcase that's going to be coming up in April. Events like that are driven towards, introducing the community to our builders.
So what's different between a showcase and like a Parade of Homes?
So that the details are still being formulated for the showcase.
Okay.
But we're looking at it to be a little different as far as for the Parade of Homes, we bring in outside judges from around Florida. So almost all the judges are outside Brevard County. And they are independent. They usually have some experience, wide breadth of experience in the building industry. This, for the showcase, for the spring showcase, we're looking at having a couple of different awards. This one will be a Realtor's Choice Award.
Nice.
For the various categories. So the realtors that are
We love that.
providing we have in our spring home showcase, we bring the realtors together in the room with the builders, and the builders share with them about their models that are in the show. And so the realtors will have the opportunity that attend that event to be judges in the show. And then we also will have a People's Choice Award for just the general public that go around and are visiting the different models in the show.
Fantastic.
So it's a little different, different twist, but it'll be kind of covering all the bases when we finish out through the year after the fall with the independent judges. It'll be interesting to see how they match up with what the realtors and the community.
I think that's fantastic. It is always funny to me how many times I might go in the same model for a build. Like, customers are always blown away. I'm like, oh yeah, like I've literally been in this model 10, 12 times, and I know it like the back of my hand, right? And you're like, oh, I really like this feature and that. As real estate agents, that is our business, right? Like,
absolutely.
And it's always fun to see how the builders like prep for these events, right? Like there's always this big push.
Well, and one point that you just mentioned is this showcase is important to the realtors because obviously, interest rates are not as low as they once were. They are coming down, but they aren't as low as they once were. So there's not a lot of resales going on, at least not what they're at the level they once were.
Yeah.
So this is an opportunity for the realtors to really get to know the builders, really get to know, like you said, the details of the homes. Pay a little closer attention because they're going to get one-on-one with the actual builders. And so it's a great opportunity for them, and in turn is a great opportunity for the community because when they have a realtor that is involved with this event, they can really give them a little, give them an edge in finding what they're looking for.
Yeah, it's really exciting to see. I worked a model home for many years, and when you had the parade of homes, it was like, okay, right? Like our number one question is like, how many have you been in and what was your favorite? Because I was just always curious, like, always, I don't know, the number kind of fluctuated between 15 and what seemed like 30 options to go view in over 10 days, right? It was like 2 weekends and a weekday in between. And very interesting to see the feedback from the public, right? Like what certain people liked, how homes have changed in Brevard County, right? The models are like what is up and coming.
The cutting edge. Yeah.
Right. And hopefully the builder has figured out like this is what is going to sell, right? And so they're entering these homes to really showcase to the community like, hey, I always told people like it's interesting that, we tend to go buy homes and then fit our lifestyle into the home that we loved for whatever reason. But when you get into new construction, you're actually building a home around your lifestyle, right? Like if you actually have the benefit of building a home, custom home too, or semi-custom, right, where you could pick some options, it's like it's fantastic. So,
and that's what's nice about this is you get a chance to. It's good for the industry on two sides. One is for the community; they get a chance to see what all the different additions and extras that the builder's offering for their homes. All the amenities. And then from the builder side, it gives them an opportunity to find out, okay, what's working, what does the community like, especially when we have a People's Choice Award. It gives them an opportunity to get some direct feedback from multiple people that have seen multiple different types of models from different builders. Yep. And it's a good win-win for both sides.
So what other events? Showcase, Parade of Homes. What other events do you guys host?
Well, we do for the building industry. We do member mixers. We do those every month. We also have a trade council. Okay. That's focused specifically on just bringing in the trades in. As I think it's well known, the trades are in need of people coming into that industry. People, we don't have enough plumbers, we don't have enough drywallers, we don't have enough air conditioning repairmen, we don't have enough electricians. So we have a trade appreciation happy hour every quarter that helps bring in those trades and learn what their problems are, and then we in turn are trying to work with the Brevard Public Schools and various entities to try to help. Like for the workforce problem, try to help be a solution to those problems. And they have other issues. Trades are usually more on the small business side, and they're usually very busy because there's not enough of them. So they don't have enough time to focus on insurance problems or workman's comp issues or health insurance, whatever. So when we find out what those problems are, we also try to work to help provide that information for them that they may not otherwise have access to.
Yeah, my brain instantly locked on to we don't have enough trades, right? Like
for sure.
I remember 10 years ago hearing a story of a guy who owned a roofing company, and he was like, I'm going to start a roofing school. You can come to my school. You can learn. It's free. I'll even put you up so you have a place to stay. All you have to do is, and I think he was saying like, I'll even provide lunch. So you literally had to show up and be able to buy your breakfast and dinner, but you had free, and one person showed up. And I was like, where is this like, this is a massive opportunity. And then a friend of mine, where we were talking about, like, if I was a young man again and I was to maybe start this all over again, I would become an electrician or a plumber, make great income, be able to buy a house that needs some TLC, fix it up, right? Like, entering into this trade is super important, because it is, to me, it's, I don't know the numbers on it. You might know some numbers on it, but it is pretty scary how many kids are coming out and saying, well, I want to be a gamer or an influencer, but I don't want to actually learn a skill and a trade anymore, right? Like,
yeah, it is. It's certainly an issue, and I think part of it's an education issue as far as educating parents, educating kids while they're in school, what's available to them, and not just the fact that they, Brevard Public Schools has done a really good job as far as creating CTE programs, and but there's a disconnect between what's available and then the business community, and getting kids into wanting to get into those programs because they see a long-term career. A lot of times kids either focus on going to college, going in the military, or being, as you said, a millionaire because they're going to be an influencer. And there's not a lot of in between. And I think that once they realize that, hey, I can become an electrician and make as much as I would or more than if I went to college.
Literally.
Absolutely.
I looked at some studies last night, and I was blown away. The amount of kids that are in debt in college, don't know what to do, and can't get a job out of college. When if you maybe applied that to a trade school, the amount of income, like, I think it's an education problem, really, right?
It is.
Like,
it's making people aware of what's available to them. And
like, I don't want my kid to be a swinging a hammer kind of kid. And it's like, wait, if you were a skilled trade, you could probably make more than mom and dad.
I'll leave the person nameless, but an interesting story. This is a true story. There was a gentleman in town who started off, he was out cutting grass, and a builder, somehow they struck up a conversation. Next thing you know, the builder hired him just as a laborer. Next thing you know, he's gained a little bit more skill. Now he owns his own home building company, making extremely good money. Right, building custom homes and doing very well. Much probably in the top 1% of all income earners in Brevard County. And he started off without a college education, just swinging a hammer. He didn't do it forever, but he did it to learn. And then he started learning all the different aspects of the home building industry, and he took it from there. So certainly an opportunity for young people, whether they have that kind of entrepreneur spirit or they just want to get into a good job and make a good income.
Yeah, I mean, from electrician to plumber to roofer, framer, I mean, like, the list goes on and on of things that you could actually do and make a great income. So
absolutely.
I think that's super important. I think that's, I work closely with junior achievement and the EDC. And so it's like, how do we get these kids to think about, and maybe it's not home building, maybe it is aeronautics or something where they can learn a trade, right? So
we need all of those.
We need it all, especially in the Space Coast, right?
Absolutely, we're growing and
yeah,
we're growing in the aviation aeronautical industry and space, and we also need homes for the people to live in. So.
Right. Yeah, I'm not saying that, like, don't go to college and become an engineer and go work for SpaceX. Like, that is not at all. But what I am saying is, don't go to college, get lost, and then wonder what you're doing. When I have two really good friends that are electricians that, everybody kind of scratched their head and said, why electric, like, and they're on their way to start their own company, right? Like, and they're booked 365 days if they could do it, right? Like, if
Absolutely.
they could actually,
never going to need to look for work,
right? Like, you got all these people, like, looking for things and looking for opportunities, and you're like, yeah. Anyways, what else can you tell us about the HBCA?
So. From the community side, like I said, we try to be a one-stop shop for the community to be able to, when they're looking for a home builder, when they're looking for a general contractor, if they're just looking for a mortgage company or somebody to do a home repair, we can be their resource. And then we also have worked hard to kind of, along with the EDC, coordinate with the EDC. We've actually mirrored some of the things we do after the EDC to be that resource. So when a company's coming into town and they're bringing 400 people with them to 400 employees, that they have a resource that one-stop shop once again, that they can reach out to the community, and they have all the information they need to get set up for their employees to have homes and finding places to live.
Yeah. I was kind of reviewing the website and watching some videos on the HB. So how do you guys help directly the builder and contractor side, right? Like, I completely understand like the premise of it, but like what's something like the down and dirty of
Sure.
of how you help a builder?
So for the actual builders, a couple ways or several ways. One is through government advocacy, and a lot of times that gets kind of
I
pushed
hear
behind the curtain.
I hear that word and it kind of just like,
So we always monitor locally and statewide and nationally for what's going on among our government bodies. And it could be something as small as I'll give you for instance, in Palm Bay last year there was driveway permits, and who knows anything about driveway permits, but it actually is a very important part of the building process, because without that permit going through, the whole building process is backed up.
Right.
And so in Palm Bay they had around 600 permits that were backlogged. And so we were able to get the city staff and the city manager and Mayor Medina helped coordinate it. We brought them into the HBCA. We brought in a good sampling of builders and engineers from our association, and they had a very, very productive conversation, both sides listening to each other. The city actually came away with some ideas on how to maybe streamline things, and within weeks it was down to like 6 or 10, or it was like they had gone through that. We solved a problem that was huge for the building industry, and then turn for the people buying those homes, because they're waiting for those homes to get finished. So it streamlined the process. Kudos to the city manager and Mayor Medina, because it was an awesome job that they did and their staff did to listen to the concerns and help find resolutions to those problems. That's one example on a local level, and we maintain relationships with all of our local officials. A lot of times they come to our events, and we try to just keep that relationship, that open door, because it's a two-way street. It's not just so we can go bend their ear about an issue, but if they have a concern, they can reach out to us as well. So it's just having that open dialogue and having those relationships. On a state level, we do the same thing with our state delegation. We make up one of, I think, 28 different associations across the state. And so collectively we get together. We're going up in January to talk to our state delegation about the issues that are important on a state level. And then we have the National Association of Home Builders as well that does the same thing on a national level.
Yeah.
So on the government advocacy side, that's a huge point. And we always say, even if a builder joins and doesn't do anything else, it pays for itself just by our involvement in making sure that things are streamlined and working well for the industry. And then we also do educational opportunities. For instance, we're going to have a president's dinner here coming up in June or May. That is, we're bringing in the chief economist for the National Association of Home Builders that's going to provide insight into the economy for the builders. That's huge. And then, obviously there's other educational opportunities as needed. We provide business development opportunities for them to, just through their relationships and through our network of people, people get to know people. For instance, we were talking about Christopher Burton. When we may have a member that runs into somebody in the community that's looking for a home that fits that bill, they're obviously going to refer right to Christopher Burton or to another builder, D.R. Horton, or whoever the member is that might fit what that person's looking for. So we have an army of people that are out there looking, helping each other and helping our builders in the community. And those are the primary ways. Business development is always important to our home builders.
Yeah.
And having community outreach.
Yeah, absolutely. I think. As you were talking, there's 2 points, right? Like, the consumer doesn't understand permits ever. Like, wait, you don't just like build the house, right? Like, and then, coming out of possibly the largest supply issue the United States have ever faced, and how long it was taking for builders, right? Like, it was just, it was unfortunate, right? It not only was supply an issue, but you just saw prices like, I was talking to a local home builder, and I was like, how's this is probably a year ago. He's like, how are things going? And he's like, we're just getting killed because we set a price for the home. And in the meantime of waiting for the permit and waiting for everything to actually start on that home, lumber went up by 30%, concrete went up by, right? And so they're not working on these huge, the general public thinks home builders are just getting rich. And what I can tell you, being in the industry my entire life is those margins are super, super thin. And so when you have something that comes up, right, like it can be challenging, right?
And the home builders want to be as cost effective as they can be. I mean, they want to be, they want to be able to provide homes to the community.
Right.
And so keeping those prices down, permitting fees down, supply chain costs down, those are all important because they have to pass those through to the consumer. So
right.
they're on the consumer side. They want to see those prices stay down.
Yeah, it's very challenging. It'll be interesting to see as supply kind of picks up how that changes, right? We saw this huge bubble in the resale market, and it from the data that I was tracking, it kind of seemed like they were staying side by side, right? So, oh yeah, the price of a new home went up, but so did the resale, and so I think that's really interesting for the general public to understand. I remember, oh goodness, this was probably 2015, 8 years ago. The HBCA came to me and said, well, we want this, we're going to do this big presentation. We're going to bring in this guest speaker, but he needs all this data on, what's selling in different price points. And, what we're seeing in terms of new construction versus resale. And there was a time where, it was very interesting how certain price points were always moving, and, how new construction for prior to COVID, was a great deal, right? Like it really was like, wait a minute, I can go buy a quote unquote used home, or I can go buy a brand new home, and it's roughly about the same price, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think it's really important for the builders, right? The builders are always, just like you said, always trying to get to the bottom price. And yet, what are those little things that we can do that might, like when I was working for the builder, I was like, okay, well, you don't want to build the cheapest home necessarily. Like and if you do, you're going to compete with the big boys, right? You're going to compete with the D.R. Hortons and the Mirandas, and right. But what if we spent just a little bit more money and we actually went up in price point just slightly, but the consumer perceived it as this amazing add value, something that they couldn't get, right? Like for us, we were semi-custom, so you had a lot, and I could grow the house inside of that lot, right? I say true custom is if you give me an acre, I can build you whatever you want. But if you're giving me a quarter acre, and then how can we do some of these little things that might put us in a different price point? But in that price point, homes were actually moving. Where you go down by $50,000, and it was like homes are just sitting. We can't give away the $700,000 home, but as soon as we're at 8, all of a sudden it was like buyer, buyer, buyer. Oh, we love this, we love that, right? So, anyways, I got on a tangent there about. I love the fact that home building and the real estate market, right? Like they're almost seen as two separate entities, and yet we're all part of the same community.
Totally dependent on each other.
Totally dependent on each other, right? Like,
you had mentioned asked me about how we also benefit the builders, and another thought did come to mind, mm-hmm. and that is just which is important is being able to connect internally within our membership for the trades. Builders obviously, and it gives the opportunity to the builders to get to know whether it's a trade, whether it's a mortgage company, whether it is a bank. They get to build that relationship internally, whether it's just informally, and member mixers or what have you. And I can't tell you how many long-term relationships have come out of that, where a builder has found a bank because they got to know the banker and got to know the people and build a trust and a relationship, and that that facilitated a long-term
absolutely
professional relationship.
I'm right there with you. I can't, like, we had people, like, you have the lender's cell phone. If there was an issue, you also start to understand their process. Like, I was more involved in the construction to perm, right? And so that is consumers like, what do you mean construction to, like, what's a CP loan? And I had to, like, okay, let's just walk you through what a CP loan looks like. We have a couple preferred lenders that we met through the HBCA that understand the process, understand it. It makes it seamless in the background versus you introduce lender XYZ from the Midwest and they're like, well, what do you mean? Like, so very interesting.
Yeah. And we also, a good point for the community to know is we, all of our members have to follow a code of ethics. And we've had instances since I've been there where we haven't allowed a member or a prospective member to join because of ethical issues or things that have happened in their past. So we strive to strive to maintain a membership where when the community picks a member of the HBCA for whatever, whether it's a builder or a bank or whoever, that they have a measure of confidence that that person, that company is adhering to a code of ethics and is doing things the right way.
Yeah, the word for me that comes to mind is trust, right? Like if you have vetted them, then I can trust that this is going to go relatively smoothly. Like anytime, I've always said like the two industries that I'm involved with really haven't evolved drastically, and that's mortgage and home building, right? Like if you go back 100 years, there's not much that it still takes a long process, right? It still takes a lot of time. Something always goes wrong. There's not what's a phrase? Amazon can't build your house, right? The consumer's like, what do you mean? Like, why is, well, sometimes
there's issues.
Yeah, right. Like it rains. There's hurricanes, right? Like you can't set the slab if we've had rain for 5 days, right? And without a doubt, like I've always said, like I'm gonna start a sod farm that's like on the side of a hill, because without a doubt, like we'll get a home close to finish, and then it'll rain for 2 weeks, and they can't cut the sod, and the home literally is ready to be turned over to the customer. The customer's freaking out, and we don't have sod, right? Like we're gonna build it on a mountain, flood the bottom of it, but the rest of it will be good. So what's next for the HBCA? Like where do you see what are you guys working on?
Well, we're growing membership,
Mm-hmm.
And we've grown over the last 3.5 years pretty consistently, and so we continue to do that because that gives us the opportunity to have a stronger voice, within our local and state government. So that's important to us. And we've always looking to see how we can add value for our members and
Mm-hmm.
to the community, and so. Once again, that's when we introduced the Spring Home Showcase.
Mm-hmm.
So we're always looking for that. So I would say that for this next year, that's going to be the biggest addition.
Mm-hmm.
What we did last couple years is we increased our cooperation with the local chambers. We've had long-standing relationships with all of the chambers in Brevard County, but we've really started working on cooperation for events. We've done some government affairs events with the Melbourne Chamber and Space Coast Association of Realtors combined. We teamed up this past year to do a phenomenal event where we brought in all the state delegation. So we're always looking for ways that we can be more effective. We can provide greater value for our members and for the community, and hopefully create strong partnerships within our community, because a lot, like you say, a lot of us are interdependent upon each other in some way.
Right.
So it's important that we all work together.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys also do a golf tournament.
We do.
That was a great one this year. Yeah.
And it's slated again for March 22nd. So
March 22nd, 24. Put it on your calendar. How would somebody, first of all, how would somebody get involved, right? Like if you're a real estate agent, or you're a lender, or you're just in the community and you're looking to get involved, how does somebody do that?
Sure. So our website, spacecoasthbca.org, is a great resource. We have a member center page that provides videos and gives you a pretty good overview about what the membership entails and what the benefits are, what you're going to get out of it, and it's pretty cut and dry. That's the best way. Just going through our website, going through our different members. We have a membership director, Tori Johnson, who is phenomenal, and she's happy to answer any questions as well as I am.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the easiest way, is just to jump in. We invite any prospective member to come join us at a member mixer. That's a great way of getting to get to know our members. And I can tell you, the one thing that's amazed me through my time at HBCA is we have a lot of members that are members of other associations or organizations, whether it's building related or not. But the one thing that everybody says about this association is just the people are so real, and yes, we all are focused on trying to help each other, and that's probably the biggest difference. Is I don't see people trying to necessarily. Everybody wants to succeed on their own, but PJ's not there trying to sell PJ.
Right.
PJ's going to be there to help John or help somebody else, and that's what it's really about. It's about members helping members, and it was there before I got there. That kind of that atmosphere, and that's continued on, and it's just a phenomenal place, a phenomenal way to grow your business, a phenomenal organization to be a part of, and it's a great organization to make a difference.
Yeah. Who's your longest standing members?
That has to be Joe DePrima.
Yeah.
Joe was, believe when it started in 1958, he was, in the founding group, and then in 1964 he was the first president.
Okay.
And so he is when they became incorporated, and he's still around today. He was a member of our Hall of Fame. He's a phenomenal guy. He runs a phenomenal company, and he's been a pillar of our community for generations. And just a really good guy, good family.
Yeah. Paul Joel, another one.
Paul Joel's still a member, and he's still going strong. He is handing off some of the day-to-day duties to other people.
I think he's earned it.
He has definitely earned a little break. But Joel Holmes has been an integral part of the HBCA for years. Mike Williams with MH Williams Construction.
Absolutely.
He's also in the Hall of Fame. They're the reasons why we added contractor to our homebuilders and contractors name. So anyways, we've got just phenomenal people that have been around a long time. And then we have a lot of new members, a lot of new builders. We have
it's fun to see that, right? Like you got these guys that were building in the 60s. You're like, 60s. Okay, so that was, what's the math on that? They've been around for 60 years, and then you have these guys, these young bucks that are like been around for 6 years.
We have our newest board member is actually a very interesting story. He owns Opus Homes, and his prior life he wrote code for missile systems for Northrop Grumman, and decided to build his own home, and in the process started learning how to build a home, and said, he started getting it a little more hands-on, and at the end of the process he decided, well, I can do this I can build homes for a living, and this is really enjoy the process, enjoy the personal interaction and with people instead of being behind a computer all day. So he launched Opus Homes, and next thing you know, he's been a huge success. He actually won an award in our Parade of Homes this last fall, and has since become a board member, and just a phenomenal guy, phenomenal company. So companies like DePrima that have been around for generations, and other ones that have been around like Opus Homes that have just new on the block in the last couple of years.
Yeah, that's fun to see. Like, and a place where everybody can come together, right? Like,
absolutely.
Sometimes what I've learned of the building industry is sometimes it's lonely even if you have a big office, it's still lonely. Like, you think that your problems don't exist with other builders, and then when you can get together, right? Like, and it's not a complain fest. It's like, hey, walk through how maybe you have overcome this, or getting our people together and really doing something great.
It's funny you say that, because that's why we last year we launched a General Contractors Council, and we also have a Production Home Builders Council and a Custom Home Builders Council, and they're all independent, but it's for that exact reason. The general contractors can get together, and instead of, it's a very competitive environment when you're out in the community, but when you're behind closed doors, you have a chance to talk about issues that are affecting everybody, and then as an association, we can team together to try to solve those problems. Yeah. So it's.
Yeah, I would say there's enough business out there for everybody, right? Like, the builders compete, but there's enough for everybody. There's enough of the pie for everybody.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I mean that place of community that you get to come together, and yeah. How does somebody find out about your events? You talked about how, like, do you guys do, I saw you're on pretty much all social platforms, so yes. You can absolutely find you there.
Right, we promote on social media. We also have an events calendar page on our website, and those are probably the most prevalent ways we promote. Sometimes, depending on the event, we'll go through our local print media or radio. It just depends on what the event is and how we're marketing it. Yeah. But generally, the best way is through our website and through social media.
So tell me about we've worked together on a nonprofit board, but what's next for you?
Well, as we discussed offline here, I decided to run for the Brevard County School Board, and the reasons for that is I have 5 grandchildren and one on the way, and just have seen our schools slip. Not only here locally, but as a country. Literacy and math and science, we're no longer the leaders in the world. So right. I just think it was that coupled with what I've learned here as the CEO of the HBCA is the disconnect between the vocational programs that are offered in our schools, which, like I said, they've done a really good job at, and connecting them with the business community. There's just that needs to be improved through no fault of anybody. I just think we need to fix that process. So those are some of the issues I just think need to be addressed quickly, and I want to be a part of it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. How do we get? It's interesting because I've done a couple speaker series through Junior Achievement, right? One of them, I had to go after Bob Cabana, the astronaut, and I was like, oh, this is fantastic. Like, these kids get to see an astronaut, and then PJ, the real estate agent, comes in. I was like, and it's important for kids to see, like, you don't have to be an astronaut. You don't have to be a real estate agent. But I'd love to see how you can mesh those two, right? Like, how a kid can have an electrician or a plumber come into the school and be like, I connect with that person, right? Like, I want to do something hands-on. I'm the kid that's always helping my parents fix something, right? Like, I was always the kid in the garage. Like, can we tear it apart and rebuild it, right? Like, just because I want to know how it works, right? So I'd love to see how Brevard County might be able to do something.
Just one thought that has always come to my mind is kids tend to be results driven, right? They want to be something because they see what the benefits are of being that, not necessarily the steps to get there.
Right.
And that's probably true for all of us. But when it comes to our trades and vocationals related to the building industry, I think if kids and parents could learn of the quality of life that our electricians have, that our plumbers have, that our drywallers have, or our painters, that they work for a living, but they have good, high-quality lives. When they pull up outside the school in a Tesla, they may not be able to see it when they walk in to do a career day. Right. But if they were able to see the quality of life what that vocation has lended them as a quality of life, I think that could be a huge driver for introducing those to kids.
Yeah.
And so
I go back to my Sorry, cut you off.
Real estate, a lot of people get involved with real estate because they think, yes, it'd be great to interact with people, but also it could be lucrative. Yeah. So
everybody thinks real estate's easy. It's
right.
because of $1 million listing. And everybody thinks home building is because of HGTV, right? Like, what do you mean you don't just like go in and you leave the house on a Monday and by Saturday they've turn over this beautiful house? It's like, no, it doesn't work that way, right?
It takes a lot of years of hard work to become a PJ.
No, it takes a lot of years of hard work to become a builder, right? Like, I have truly learned that growing up in California, where you have to do everything that's earthquake proof. Now to Florida, and California now needs to. It was funny. I was actually talking to Joelle and DePrima, and I was like, it's pretty miraculous that the home builders have figured out how to build a home that's hurricane safe. Like, in California, they engineer them to be earthquake safe, but earthquakes only happen every 20 years, 30 years, right? Now they're having to deal with fires. And we're like, how can these builders, how can the Association of California Builders figure out how to make a fireproof house? Like, the technology is there. It's just how quickly are we willing to adapt to that? And I was like, it's pretty impressive to think about, like, a Category 5 could come through, and anything that's been built by the HBCA builders is still going to be standing, right? Like, they're built for that. It's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, and technology is phenomenal, but it's also, usually if there's new technology, there's probably some cost associated with it. So, it's always a double-edged sword. You got to weigh between
always
providing the safest home for the buyer, as well as keeping the cost down. So
right, but they figured it out in Florida.
Well, that's true.
I mean, code is like it will be hurricane safe, and this is the price, and the public got around it, right? Like at first it was like, what do you mean I have to pay for hurricane shutters, and right, it has to be concrete block with rebar, and right, the engineering side of it, the consumer doesn't necessarily understand, but they got on board, and I would love to see that happen in other places of the country. So,
well, on the vocational side, it's important for the general community to know that because we don't have enough in the trades currently, that makes the length of the building process longer. It makes the price of the home higher, and I think just getting the word out to the general community that these are great trades, are great careers to look at, and to reach out to your schools and reach out to your local high school that your son or daughter attend, and see what's available. See what's available through Brevard Public Schools. See what's available outside of the schools.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of opportunities, and I think there's going to be more. And I'd like to hopefully provide a solution to create even more opportunities, because that's just such an important aspect of the building process, and it's important to our community.
I don't think there's going to be many young adults that watch two old guys talk about the HBCA. So this message goes out to their parents that I'll go back to my buddy that's the electrician. He bought his first house at like 24, 25. It was a wreck. He fixed it up. He then bought the neighbor's house next door, who was in a wreck and in a bad situation, and fixed that up, and then moved out of his first house and actually moved into another house that needed some work. He's on a path to have 5 homes by the time he's like 45 years old, and literally he will replace his electrician income with passive income through real estate. And it's just because instead of going to college or wasting a decade trying to figure out what he was going to do, he just jumped in and became an electrician and made like 6-figure income maybe it was year 2 or 3. But like, to all the parents out there, don't put down an electrician or a plumber or a framer or somebody that actually works for it. Like, we have this belief you got to be this amazing lawyer, doctor, engineer in the Space Coast. And if your kid really likes doing something that involves home building, like, push them into that direction.
Everybody has different aptitudes, right? So it's just whatever fits the person.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciated our time together. Thank you guys so much, and we will see you on the next one.